Welcome, everyone, to the To ROARRR Show. I am your host, Kym Glass. I am so excited that you have joined us today to get some great conversation and some nuggets of information from our special guest today. You know, our show is all about helping you as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, to get the tools, resources, and connections that you need for your business. So I showcase a lot of people that I've met along my networking journey, which is so important when you're out there sharing your business. And so I'm super excited to welcome you. I want to know more about you. What is your business? What is that thing that makes your heart sing in your business? And who do I know that may be your next best idea client? So I love connecting with you to learn those things. Along the journey of networking, I have met our two special guests today that you're going to be hearing from. Nancy Lockhart and Sherri Leopold. I'm going to bring them on. We're just going to have a conversation to get to know about them and their story. You know, when we talk about networking, and we're continuing our series on feeling invisible. And what I've learned through all of my years of networking, whether I have been in the corporate space and my corporate career of over 20 years, or as an entrepreneur for over 15 years, I love to network. I love to connect with people. I'm very extroverted. If you cannot tell from hearing my voice, I love, like, the more people that I can connect to, the better. But then also really getting to know that person. Well, what I found in all of my networking is oftentimes people are not as comfortable with it as I am. You know, I've been doing this from way many years back in my neighborhood, riding around on my mini bike, going door to door and selling either so many cents per mile for my walkathon, or selling those yummy chocolate candy bars, or selling wrapping paper, like whatever that thing was that we were selling in our school. I love to go door to door working in my neighborhood and encouraging people to support whatever initiative that we were doing. What I found along my journey is that some people are not as comfortable with that. And I love that this space gives people the opportunity to share from who they are and what they've experienced. And so feeling invisible when you're out there networking is a really big thing for some people. And sometimes that stems from various things, something that happened in our childhood or something that happened in our business, to where we don't feel like we're being seen or heard. And sometimes we don't feel like we have value. And so we're continuing our conversation today. And I'm so excited to bring Nancy on as our speaker. So Nancy, if you would unmute, I want to just have a conversation with you. And thank you so much for being with us today. Share with us a little bit about your backstory and what made you maybe feel invisible that you can share with our listeners today.
Sure. Thank you so much, Kym. It's an honor to be here. I think, in the book, I talk a little bit about just getting out of college and marrying my college sweetheart and moving across the country and experiencing, I thought about true love and what that meant, and what turned out to be an abusive relationship. So moving me very far away from my family and my roots to a place I didn't know anyone, I felt there were some key times where I wish I was invisible, because I was, I was crouched down just praying, please stop hitting me. And at one point I had my husband held a gun to my head and dared me to call the police. He was a sheriff. So there was a very hard situation to be in. But I think through that, I learned to have a voice, and I decided to leave that marriage. But the after effect of that, coming into like you, I've worked 20 years in the corporate world, and did the good girl thing, what I'm supposed to do, work hard, be very grateful for a great job. And I had many great jobs. I'm a marketing and brand strategist. I worked with a lot of healthcare brands, and I've worked with Target, and it's a great experience. But I think I didn't have my voice and my power within myself, because I felt so much like I was not worthy of it. And and it was just a conditioning that I had. I think it was a combination of, I had a great childhood. Having this kind of really traumatic situation happen with me caused me to just kind of shut down. I wanted to be invisible. I wanted to just kind of hide. I started getting some more confidence, but it's interesting. The first job that I had out in California, I was feeling good. I had left my husband, and one day I was called in by the CEO. It was a small company, a promotions company. And he said, "We don't have the funds. We have to let you go." And as I was walking up the stairs from that meeting, my ex-husband called, and I was hell-bent that I was not going to tell him I just lost my job. And he said he was moving his girlfriend into our house. So I was like, well, okay, well, I didn't have to tell him I lost my job, but I went home that night and sat and looked in the mirror and said, I'm nobody's wife, nobody's employee. I don't know how to define myself, and I'm not sure how to move forward. So really staring myself in the mirror and going, crap, what do I do? So I went looking for another position, and then the Northridge earthquake hit, and I lived very close to it. So literally everything around me, like the buildings fell down. It was a war zone. I was very fortunate that not a lot happened to my apartment, but things did happen to my house, and it ended up going into foreclosure, and my ex-husband left it. And, so it was just like, oh my God, I'm just getting my footing. And now all of this other stuff is happening. And, I was feeling very much like things were happening to me. And instead, on this side of life and career, to go, things were happening for me to get me stronger and to make me wiser and to know what I'm made of. So I spent a long time working in corporate. I started my own company, my own consulting about 5 years ago, just doing that on the side. I had a lot of referrals. And, it was very much dabbling. It was not, full force into it. And then in February this year, the company I was working for, I was acquired and I was let go. And I just, I have such an amazing renewed sense of myself and empowerment at this point in my life, where I'm like, oh my God, I can do this. I can be my own boss. I can work with the people that I want to work with. I can make such an impact where I was being stifled in so many areas in the corporate world, to help people to find, my tagline is my name, my company, my purpose is to help you unlock the heart of your business. And my name is Nancy Lockhart. So it fits really well. So, and being able to realize that is just such an incredible joy. And I couldn't even realize the immense opportunities that I have to influence and help other people, not just in my business, but just in my being. I have 2 daughters. They're Girl Scouts, so they sell cookies door to door. But just the influence that I've had on them, seeing me be so empowered with such a voice and a presence and a confidence. So yeah, I'm just thrilled to be able to be part of this book and to share my story. So thank you.
Wow, Nancy, what an incredible journey that you've been on. And the key word that is like illuminating over here is like resilience, resilience,
Yeah.
resilience, overcomer, resilience, tenacious. And I find that, if we back up just a little bit about your personal story of what you overcome, like, wow, what that feeling of feeling invisible. And then what you were talking about, it was almost like things were layering on top of each other and kind of rolling into a snowball per se. And it's like, okay, when is this chaos gonna, stop? And when can you just let me off of this sort of
Yeah.
thing? And so I thank you so much for sharing that, and not only just sharing it, but your perspective about what happened to you and what are you doing as a result of that is so powerful. So,
Well,
when we think about our listeners that are joining in, maybe you're feeling invisible in something that's going on in your life or your business. And, Nancy shared so much great information with us of, it's the keep going factor. Like,
mhm.
we may not understand that path, and things may be layered upon us. And I love what you said about things are happening for you. And I
Mhm.
think as entrepreneurs and business owners, sometimes we don't understand while we're going through certain things, but at some point in time, we have the awe-inspiring opportunity to look back and think, oh my God, look at how far I've come from last month or last year or the last 5 years, and look where I am today and doing things that I would have never even thought about doing. So thank you so much for sharing with us, Nancy. And I love everything about your perspective. And I definitely see that there's been a shift. And we're going to get into that just a little bit later on the show of how did you move from invisible to invincible? So that's what we're talking about today. So I thank you so much for sharing. And
My pleasure.
Sherri, if you would unmute for us, we'd love to hear your story of, you know, this incredible person that I've gotten to know over the last couple of months. And that's the power of networking and connections. Like, our mutual connection, Linda, has connected us. And I was actually on your podcast yesterday, and here we are today. And I'm so inspired by just a little bit of what I've heard about you. But take us back to that time in your life where you have felt invisible.
Thank you so much, Kym. It's my honor and pleasure to be here today and share. When this topic came up, I began to think about, when did I feel invisible? And it's been a minute for me, but that's because my journey has been a long one. So I grew up in a family that had domestic violence in it against my mother. And so it wasn't directed at me, but that one person that is supposed to be your solid foundation, and you're watching that, it's very impactful emotionally. And I would say that I kind of shrunk into myself a little bit. Now, on the other side of that, my dad was the most wonderful person on the planet. He knew what was going on, but he never tried to, sway me to do anything about it. I just happened to share. I was like 11 or 12, I think. And I happened to share something about what went on. And he said, well, you realize you don't have to stay there. And I was like, what? And so that was the first time I was like, oh, I actually didn't know I had any choice in the matter. I'm like, being a kid, I'm just like, this is what is. And, we had that conversation, and that was probably one of the hardest moments actually in my life, because I had to tell my mother that I was leaving, and I went and lived with him. But that was where I actually realized I did not have to be invisible. I did have a voice. It was the first time I used it in something that I wanted happened. And so that really stuck with me. And not to say that it was not traumatic, it was not difficult, it was not super highly emotional. But what I realized is that's where I first tapped my personal power. And it's what I do today, is helping women stand up and stand out as the unrepeatable miracle that you are. No qualifiers. I stood up for myself and said, wait, I get to have more, be more, and be happy. And that was the first time I ever did that for myself. And now doing that with people through my Dream Big with Sherri, I'm just passionate about that. Helping people, especially women, understand their gifts and their strengths, and to know that they deserve whatever it is they want and that they can have it if they just claim it, and I think I rarely feel invisible. Now there's an occasion sometimes when I'm in a group of business people, and I also am a network marketer, and sometimes there's an aura that floats about that some people don't think that's a real job, and so that's probably the only time where that little feeling pops up today, but I actually know how to handle it now, because it's what I teach people how to do. So thank you for asking.
Yes, thank you so much, Sherri, for sharing. And one of the things that I got from what you said is, sometimes we grow up in a certain environment, and that becomes our normal. But I love the perspective that you shared about that aha moment from your dad that, oh, you don't have to stay there. And to be able to hear that and say, oh, I never thought about that, or, oh, I never thought I could do something different in my business that may not be the traditional path. But we have those choices. And
100%. Just now had the aha moment with you telling me that, because I didn't even think about the two being connected, but that's true. I guess it was actually all stitched together. That's where I was like, oh wait, I can do that. I can do what I want.
And I love this conversation because it kind of segues to my next question, and we'll start off with you, Sherri. Like, when you think about your story and what you just shared, and even though it wasn't directed per se at you, things can be molded at a young age, even if it affects someone else and not us directly. So I acknowledge you, and I thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. I'm wondering, when you think about what you experienced and that invisible feeling, did that transfer over into your business? Because as I work with clients and I hear other people's story, I find it so fascinating that some people, they layer on to that situation. And I often call it shopping carts, like at the grocery store, where they're all kind of stuck together. And yet for me, overcoming what happened in my life, um it stayed in that one area of my life, and yet my work and my business were my outlet and separate. So I didn't realize until many years outside of what I had overcome, that I had compartmentalized things. So in my business, I felt like through my self leadership, I could lead myself. I could show up and network for either another company or for my own business. I'm wondering, Sherri, if you would take us back, like that feeling that you felt of invisible. How did that show up as it transferred to your business and out there networking?
It's really interesting question. I don't know that I've had that before, but I actually, or that I've even really thought about it before. But when I moved, it was, if you want to talk about it as, it was like a bud, and I bloomed, I blossomed. I joined all kinds of clubs, and I became a cheerleader, and, went out on the floor. And by high school, I mean, I competed in front of 10,000 people. And you know what? The thing is, that was my space. I was like, I love this. This is amazing. I know other people want to die, but I was like, I was all about it. I was like, I'm here and I'm great. And not that I need you to think I'm great. I thought I was great. That was the thing. And that was kind of the transition from the invisible to the invincible, right? was realizing that I was me and there was only one me. And me as I was at any given moment was amazing. And as long as I believed that, that would supersede anyone else's thought process. Not that I didn't have moments where I felt like, oh gosh, I feel less than or whatever. We all have that. But fundamentally, I had cemented in that I have a voice. My voice is the most important. Whatever I run up here on repeat is going to come out here. It's going to come out my pores and it's going to affect the rest of the world. So make it good. So that's my hashtag, is make good choices. And that is exactly what I do every day. It's what I teach other people to do. Really upgrade your self-love language. I did that. I was the one in high school that even said to my friends, why are you even saying that to yourself? Oh my gosh, why are you being so mean to yourself? Like, I didn't even know it back then, what I was doing, but it's all been part of this journey, sort of, I guess, helping people move from that invisible to invincible space. And, it's really a joy, and I consider it an honor to be partnered with people who are in that journey. Everybody's at a different space, right? And you know what? When you choose the network that you surround yourself with, I call it your farm, your friends and relatives matter. And the people are your farm hands because they help you stand up and stand out, because they crystallize what you know is true about yourself, is that you're an unrepeatable miracle, exactly as you are, no qualifiers.
That's so important. And I think it's also, you talked about how that you, once you moved, and sometimes it's a physical movement and sometimes it's a mental movement, to break a pattern, to do something different, even in our thought process, or, sometimes, we have to move to another city or another state, or we just need a fresh start for whatever the reason is. It really doesn't matter. But it's so true, exactly what you said. We're all on the same journey. We're just in a different stopping spot along that journey. And so if you're joining us today and you're listening in, wherever you are in your journey, just like Sherri said, it's so important. How are you speaking to yourself first? And then how are you tuning in and listening to the people that are where you want to go? And who are you collaborating with? Who are you surrounding yourself with? All of those components make a difference in leading yourself first and then helping you to grow your business. So Sherri, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And then Nancy, if you would share with us your experience, like all of that horrific backstory that you had and what you overcame. And, I see you here today, just shining bright and shining your light and shining your message. How did that transfer over for your business? And was there a difference for you? Um, that invisible feeling and that unworthiness, how did that transfer over when you're out there networking to grow and build your business and connect with others?
Yeah, first of all, Sherri, I'm so inspired. I love your words, and I'm so pumped up. So thank you very much. I think, one of the things that really helped me to shift, and I went through several, phases of shifting, because once I had gotten through leaving my husband, establishing myself, reestablishing myself in my career, there was this script that was always this, you do these things, you go to college, you graduate, you get a good job, you marry a great man, you have kids, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom, so even that was kind of a rewrite for her. And I was doing that, and I was successful, and I had a good job, and so I had gotten over that, and then all of a sudden I had this huge wave of depression, and so I couldn't get out of bed. my heart would beat so fast just to go to the bathroom. And then I would go back into bed. I was just laying flat. And there was a point in time when I had that voice, which was so critical. And I literally, I was like, this hand is the voice that is so mean to me, telling me I'm a loser, that I'm not worth anything. I can't even get out of bed. I can't take care of my kids. By the way, I had my kids with the next husband, so they are part of the other one. But, I had this whole brand new life, and yet I was like failing. And I had this visualization of my other hand, like rock, paper, scissors, where it just covered it up and said, how dare you talk to her like that? Like I was almost outside of myself. And I just started really talking to myself in a much more positive way. I also had, and I still do, I have a wonderful therapist that since I left my marriage, I've seen her. So it's been, God, almost 30 years that I've been, working with her, and that's really helped me. But it is an internal shift that tells you, you don't have to follow the script of what you've been told is the right thing to do. And when you can break free from that and empower yourself, it's just like you're saying, Sherri, it's like rewrite that script, tell yourself about how great you are and what you can do. And I did start at the beginning of the year, I started taking law of attraction and life coaching classes. So my business is really the merging of that, where I do see women that are starting their business, that have their business, but their business is a reflection of themselves. And so you start talking about, brand strategy and mission and vision and naming yourself. You peel that back and people start getting, then I very subtly shift off my marketing hat and put on my life coach hat, because people then, it's like, what's holding you back? Why aren't you attracting the type of clients that you want, the business that you want, the revenue that you want? And it's so interesting how I'm always surprised at the shift in people, but it's because I shifted myself too, to go, this is really where I want to focus. And rewriting, putting things, flipping the script and knowing I can do what I want. I can do the things I want to do. I can have the impact that I want. And to be able to share that with other people, I feel so, I feel very blessed that I've gone through that. And again, it's really a treat to be able to see my children watch me like go, wow, yeah, mom was laying in bed and we're like, what is going on? To see me now, to see where I'm at now, and just really just thrilled to be doing what I'm doing. The only thing they say is I work too hard, but that's part of my own business, right?
Right. So Nancy, I love what you said about the rock, paper, scissor, because sometimes we have to, we get enough information that like, okay, enough is enough. Stop this. And I think Sherri mentioned about mean girls, like the mean girl within, like stop that. And the more that you do it, the less that voice is going to be there that's holding you back, that's stopping you, that's keeping you in an irrational fear from growing your business. So thank you so much for sharing that. And then Sherri, I'm going to go back to you. I would love for you to share with our listeners, what is your business and where can we connect with you out on your website?
Thank you so much, Kym. I am the CEO of Dream Big with Sherri. I help people, women mostly, stand up and stand out as that unrepeatable miracle that we spoke of, by really helping you upgrade your self-love language, which exactly what we were talking about, what you focus on in that law of attraction, you're going to bring about, and sometimes it's just about breaking patterns that don't serve you. So we go into all those kinds of things, but I actually have a tribe of WOW warriors. WOW stands for the War on Words. And it is a group of people that I have assembled, and we are committed to encouraging one another to stand up and stand out and own your future and own what you want and own who you are, whatever way it is that you show up. And you can find the link on there at sherrileopold.com. And there's a really, really great tool. If you just don't know where to start on there, it's my freebie. It's my Who Am I evaluation kit. And I really encourage people to do that exercise because it's a deep dive on who am I, what am I good at, what are my talents, and actually having people, which I mentioned in your farm, do it for you, and then going through the process of saying, do I see myself as other people see me? It's a really, really important exercise if you're really looking to move yourself forward, to know who you are and how you're showing up in the world. So SherriLeopold.com, and you can find me on all the social medias at Sherri Leopold.
That's so awesome, Sherri. And will you do me one favor? Will you spell your entire name with your .com, just so those that are tuning in through audio?
Absolutely. It's SherriLeopold.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So our listeners, make sure that you connect out there to Sherri. As you've heard her speak, she has a wealth of great knowledge and experience behind that knowledge to help you in your business. So thank you so much for sharing, Sherri. And Nancy, I'm going to bring you back on. Will you share with us what is your business and how are you helping clients, and how can we connect with you out on the internet?
Well, absolutely. Thank you so much, Kym. I am the founder of Lockhart Marketing, and I take my 20 years of brand strategy, marketing strategy, and leverage it with my law of attraction life coaching to get people access to Fortune 100 marketing and strategy at a much more reasonable cost. So I have an 8-week marketing makeover masterclass that people can sign up on my website. My website is Lockhart, LOCKHART-marketing.com. And I do have some freebies. I have like a Cosmo quiz that's what's your brand? So you answer a few questions. It's a ton of fun. People really, really enjoy it. So I encourage people to kind of go there and see that. I also have a freebie for what kind of clients are you attracting? And so it's a nice kind of inventory of where people, they're like, so many people have said, oh my God, poor you, you've compiled that list. Excuse me. So, and then also if you're interested, I have a free 30-minute consultation. I'd be happy to talk to I primarily focus on women business owners, but anyone who's interested in really marketing their business and laying their foundation in a really great way, and open to some self-work as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nancy. Make sure that you connect with her to learn more about her. And what I love about hosting the show is that I get to meet fabulous people like you. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to their website. I'm going to see what they're doing. I love to learn because I think, as entrepreneurs and business owners, we're always looking to learn and get a little bit more knowledgeable or clarity because our businesses shift a little bit, and sometimes it shifts through unexplained things, as we recently dealt with and still dealing with the pandemic. And so I love so much everything that you both are doing. And what I want to share with our listeners today is these two incredible women that you've just heard from. You've heard their backstory. You've heard about them networking, you know about their business. And I think there is a theme here that you have heard them shift from invisible to invincible and how they're helping other people. And aren't you just so inspired about people that share their voice? And share what they've overcome to be who they are today. Both of you are such an inspiration. I'm so thrilled that we have connected along this journey through our mutual friend, Linda Sunshine West, who I met a little bit around 5 years ago at a networking event in Las Vegas. I live in Texas. I showed up. I met Linda there, and we have just continued the conversations, and now we've done some incredible collaboration projects together, which leads me to these two incredible women, Sherri and Nancy, are in the upcoming book Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore. And so that book is actually launching within the next couple of weeks. So make sure that you stay up to date with these two amazing authors. And Sherri, I'm going to bring you back on. Tell us, like, we don't want to let our listeners know everything that's in your chapter, but what is your chapter title? And just give us maybe a snippet of what you're sharing in this incredible book.
Oh, wow. I'm blanking at the name of my chapter. I can't even think of it. That's all right. Because I was like thinking about what the thing that I wanted to share. One of the pieces that's in it is something that I teach about how to not be a tumbleweed and not live in Tumbleweedville, which is actually being the person in your life that just rolls into things like a tumbleweed and then reacts, right? And really directing your path and having a purpose and following that purpose on purpose instead of just rolling wherever you're pushed or whatever happens to you, right? A little bit like Nancy was saying about the happens for you, not to you. Lots of things happen out of our control, but we control how we respond to it. So, and that's how you stay out of Tumbleweedville. But that's part of my story in there, from, invisible to invincible. And there's so many great stories in there. You will be inspired literally to the depth of your soul by these people who have shared really, really intimate and powerful stories. So I really hope that people will pick up a copy of the book and just deep dive and think about how it applies. Take a nugget from each story and think about how it can impact your life and what you could implement from something that we've learned.
I love that, Sherri. I love your analogy of the tumbleweed. We often hear about the shiny object syndrome where we're darting toward it, but a tumbleweed gives a whole different analogy and a visual. Like, I'm sitting here thinking about this acreage of land with a tumbleweed, just rolling, over it. So thank you so much for sharing that. I cannot wait to read your chapter as well. And then Nancy, will you share with us just a little snippet about your chapter and what you're going to be sharing?
Sure. So my chapter is, I believe, a would-be princess finds her happily ever after. And I think the real true essence of the story is your own empowerment, how you are in charge of finding your happily ever after. For so long, I bought into the whole fairy tale, and I really thought love would conquer all and all that really nice stuff that you get told when you're watching the Disney movies. It's just a better happily ever after when you know your self-worth, like Sherri was saying, and you understand your power, and it's within you, and you are loved, and you are loved. And so I think that's such an important takeaway that people don't get all the time. And I know when I was in my depression, that was something that was very foreign and I could not hear that. So I hope people read the stories in this book and are inspired. Like Sherri said, they are incredible women, and each story is going to touch you in some unique way. And I think it just makes you smile and makes you full of energy, power, and inspiration. So I'm so happy and proud to be part of the book.
That is so great, Nancy. And so, our listeners, you've heard from two amazing authors today. Can you imagine? I believe there's 20 plus authors in this book. So keep an eye and an ear out. I'll be also sharing a little bit more information, but Invisible to Invincible what a powerful collaboration book that's launching in just a couple of weeks. So I know that you will want to check that out. And Nancy and Sherri, I thank you so much. I am so excited and honored to be in your circle of connections and collaborating together. I've, just catching glimpse of who you are and getting to know both of you and what you've come through that makes you who you are and how you shine the light in this world and how you've taken your business and voice from that whisper of invisibility to a roar of invincibility. You are such powerhouses. I'm so honored to know you and to be connected and to learn from you. Like, I always want to know when I'm networking, who are you? Who's your ideal client? Who are you looking for? We all have this mental Rolodex that rolls around, and then it's even on our phone. It's in our all of our social media, through all of our connections that we see. Think about when you're thinking about networking and you're curious about other people, that is how that you build these connections. And I'm a huge proponent of building connected communities, and that's how you do it. Like, Sherri, who's an idea client for you? Nancy, how can I help you? What's that next project coming on? So these are tools, resources, and tips to help you grow your business. Thank you both so much for being with us today and sharing who you are and how you inspire people. I'm so excited to get my hands on that book and to read all of these fabulous chapters from the other authors that I've met along the journey and had the opportunity to showcase on our show. And thank you, everyone, to our listeners for joining us today. I know that surely you grabbed at least one piece of nugget of information to help inspire you on your networking journey to get out there, share who you are, who your business is, and who you are looking for. 80% of your success is about showing up. So get out there, even if you're feeling a little bit invisible, get out there and connect and get curious about someone else while you're out there networking to help you and your business. And remember, we're all on the same journey. We may just be in a different spot along the journey. So thank you again for tuning in. I look so forward to bringing other amazing guests, just like Sherri and Nancy, onto this show to help inspire you to take your business and voice from a whisper to roar. We'll see you next time. Thank you again for joining us. And thank you again to our awesome, incredible special guests, Sherri Leopold and Nancy Lockhart. Thank you so much for being with us.